Hey there, excited learners. I'm Miss Danielle Wells, and this is Intro to Book Trailers, and we are on Module 1. So, a book trailer is basically, so we've all read books before, and this is a course about how to take the ideas and the story of a book and how to make it into a video that kind of tells a little bit about the book, but not quite gives away all the plot details. So, kind of like a trailer that you'd see in a movie. So, you know how you go into a movie theater and then you watch all those previews? Those are called trailers. So when you're doing a book trailer, it means you have to read and understand the story and understand what's important about it. And throughout the course, we'll go through the whole process of all of that, understanding stories and storyboarding and all these kind of cool things. And then at the very end, we're going to create our very own book trailer. So if you're still a little unsure about the concept, don't worry about it. We're going to go through a whole bunch of things. I'm going to show some examples today, and we're going to get right started. So thanks for joining me, and let's get going. So just as a quick question for you here, so I'm just curious what the last movie trailer was that you watched and what made it exciting for you. So if I can give an example to you, I remember back in, I think it was the springtime of 2024, just being at a Disney movie. Can't quite remember which one, but I did see a preview for Inside Out 2, which is a really cool Pixar movie and the sequel to Inside Out 1. And I just remember watching the trailer, which gave away some plot details, but not everything. Told a little bit about the story, and it was very emotional and funny and cute, and it made me really excited to see it when it eventually came out in the summertime in 2024. So if you could think of an example like that, just kind of have it in your mind throughout the lesson. And just imagine how you would feel if a trailer was that good at presenting a book, and then it made you want to read the book. So I have seen some really good book trailers online, and I do think it is a really good activity to be able to, get into reading and to really deeply understand what you're reading and then be able to present it to friends in like a really exciting way, or family, so that maybe they're going to want to read the book. So that's the whole point of what we're doing here, and we'll talk about some more trailers in a second. So first we're going to go ahead and view One of Us is Lying, and I just want to give credit to Scholastic on YouTube for presenting this trailer. And then the second one is Red Queen, and that's by Epic Reads on YouTube. So always give credit to where you find your sources. These are two really cool ones. They're very, very short, and let's go ahead and watch them together.
In school, we learned about the world before ours, about the angels and gods that lived in the sky, ruling the earth with kind and loving hands. Some say those are just stories, but I don't believe that. The gods rule us still. They have come down from the stars, and they are no longer kind.
Okay, so now that we watched those two trailers, which one do you think made you want to read or watch the story even more, and why was this? So let's just talk a little bit about how both of the trailers use some techniques to kind of pull the reader in and the viewer in. So the first one for One of Us is Lying was only 30 seconds. There was a lot of text, like from reviewers and things like that, talking a little bit about not really the plot, but just giving like an idea of who might be in it and what might be happening. So one of the examples was Breakfast Club, but with murder. So that tells you that it's probably going to be a little bit of a scary story. And the music also made up for that. And then we see some students in a detention room and they're writing on a board, and that's pretty much all we see. So it's a very short thing, 30 seconds or less. Reviews from publishers, ominous music, and students. So those are kind of the several of the elements that we have. So we can tell it's a little bit of a scary story. It probably takes place in a school, and there's probably some kind of a murder plot in it. So scary. If you like scary stories, that's probably the one for you. The other one is The Red Queen. So that one started off with a little bit more positive music. It was also a minute long, so it was twice as long as the first one. And then you see that girl and they kind of pan over her with the camera. And the music starts out kind of sweet and nice, and then she reaches up to touch her crown, and of course she has that little bit of blood on it. And isn't that awful? So again, it's kind of more of it was a little bit of a longer one, and instead of using so much text, they did use footage of a girl, supposedly the Red Queen. So again, it's kind of one of those scary type of stories, but a little bit more mysterious. So both of them definitely had a lot of mystery, but kind of told you a little bit about maybe the setting, the people that were involved, and sort of the genre of the trailer. So that's really good. So let's officially talk about what a book trailer is. So a book trailer is like a movie trailer, but for a book. It's a short video designed to make people excited to read a book. It's not a summary. Instead, it's like a sneak peek to grab your attention. So we're going to talk about the difference between movie and book trailers in a minute. But really, when we're talking about a book trailer in terms of, creating one to maybe use in advertising. So people may want to promote the book that way in a nice visual way, in a way people are used to seeing it, like movie trailers when you go to movies, but shorter. So there's that. And then because books are so long, usually you can't reveal a whole lot about a plot. You just have to kind of reveal just a tiny little bit. So movie trailers are going to be a lot longer than a book. And for our purposes, when we do finish this course, we're going to create our own trailer, and that's something to be thinking about, is keep it short. Don't say anything major that, a spoiler, like something that gives away a lot of the plot, and try to say a lot with music and visuals and a little bit of text if you can. So here's the official comparison between book trailers and movie ones. So like I was saying, book trailers are definitely shorter and more mysterious, so keep it to about a minute or less. No major spoilers, so maybe you could mention a character, but you might not say their name. You might not say where it's set or anything, but it would be good to give a slight teaser. So, things like using text narration, images, and music instead of full acting, like we saw with, of course, both the examples that we had. Maybe using quotes from the book or reviewer praise. So I'd say One of Us is Lying did a really good job of using that reviewer praise as kind of a teaser for the book. And movie trailers tend to show actors, action sequences, and dialogue, so almost full scenes sometimes, and a lot of the plot mostly. They also tend to reveal key moments. Sometimes people say a little bit too much of the plot is revealed in a movie trailer, and they're usually about 2 or 3 minutes at least, so that's a good chunk of time to be able to tell a lot of the story. And also, there's a lot of focus on special effects and visuals because there's a lot of competition for different movies that are out, and they're all sort of out to make money, so you want to be very eye-catching, very, attention-grabbing, so that the audience wants to see your movie over everything. Whereas when we're talking about a book trailer, it's usually either to use to convince someone to buy a book, which can either be read at the library or sometimes, something like Audible or something. So there's a little bit of a less investment of money into it, so that's what makes it a little bit easier to digest. And then also sometimes you're just using a book trailer to convince a friend maybe about reading a certain book and kind of pitching it in a certain way. And that's where we're going to get to eventually as well. Okay, so now we're about to actually watch a movie trailer. So many of you may have already seen this movie. I personally really love it a lot. I'm a big Disney fan. It's a Frozen trailer. So I know that a lot of us probably already know what the plot of Frozen is and have seen it by now, because it came out about 12 years ago. But if you haven't, this is about 2.5 minute trailer. And we're just going to watch it, and we'll talk a little bit about the differences between this and a book trailer just in a second.
Summer in the city of Arendelle. It couldn't be warmer. It couldn't be sunnier. But that's about to change. Forever.
Arendelle.
It's completely frozen.
Cold, 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 cold.
A real howler in July, yeah?
The land's covered in eternal snow.
Really?
If we don't do something soon, we'll all freeze to death. You want to talk about a problem? I sell ice for a living.
Ooh, that's a rough business to be in right now. I mean, that is really... that's unfortunate.
My lady. Whoa, whoa.
Is is awkward. Not you're awkward, but just because I'm awkward. You're gorgeous. Wait, what?
Hi, everyone. I'm Olaf. Hi.
You're creepy.
Whoa!
I don't want it.
Whoa.
No.
All right, we got off to a bad start.
I know how to stop this winter.
Hang on.
I like fast.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Get your feet down. This is fresh lacquer. Seriously, were you raised in a barn?
Let's go bring back summer! Man, am I out of shape. Wolves.
Stop!
Whoa.
Whoa!
Are you okay?
I've got a thick skull.
I don't have a skull.
Oh, woo!
Head rush.
So cute. It's like a little baby unicorn.
Now we just have to survive this blizzard!
That's no blizzard.
Sultry.
That's my sister.
That would have been nice to know.
Heads up!
It is not nice to throw snow, people.
Whoa, 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 feisty pants. Just let the snowman be.
I'm calm.
Great. Oh, come on.
Olaf, you're melting.
Some people are worth melting for. You're just maybe not right this second.
Come on, buddy, faster.
No!
Olaf!
Hang in there, guys! Whoa! I can't feel my legs! I can't feel my legs!
Those are my legs.
Oh, hey, do me a favor, grab my butt. Oh, that feels better.
Okay, so first off, I noticed the length. It was about 2.5 minutes for the trailer. They did play music. They did talk about the setting, which is Arendelle. They showed Elsa, the character, but they didn't really talk about her. It was mostly a trailer that featured Kristoff and Anna and had a bunch of different conversations with them in it, and Olaf and Sven. So you do see a lot of the main characters. You can tell that snow is involved because there's a lot of winter scenes. There's some action, there's some humor. So right off the bat, we get a lot of detail about, it's probably going to be a funny movie. There's probably romance. There's action. There's some kind of a conflict about, the frozen winter and everything like that. But kind of what I do notice that they left out is they did leave out really talking all that much about Elsa and who she is. And I know that eventually, she is related to Anna and everything. So it's really interesting to kind of know what the movie's about and then go back and see that and see what they did leave in and what they left out. So obviously, if that was a book trailer, it would be a lot shorter. There would definitely be a lot of the characters' names left out. The music would probably be different. They might just throw some reviews in there, sort of thing. So that would be how it would change as a book trailer. So definitely cut the length and definitely talk less about the characters. Maybe show a little bit about the setting and place of music, but then that's about it. So that just gives you a real good comparison between book trailers and movie trailers in practice. So let's talk a little bit about the 3 key elements of an engaging trailer. So this is things that I was hinting at a little bit. So your hook is the first thing that grabs attention. So the example is, what if you discovered you were a demigod and Percy Jackson? So using a punchy line like that, asking a question, it's very attention grabbing, right? So it's like you're kind of trying to get that real key element right off the bat in your trailer. So to bring it back to our example, and one of us is lying, Breakfast Club meets murder. It's a real simple line, but it kind of gives people an idea of where the trailer is going and where the book is going too. And like we were saying about the mood, so all the trailers that we've been watching, the 2 examples anyway, were kind of a scary, dark mood, and that's can be told through the story of the music. So music colors images that set the tone, so dark and eerie for horror, bright and fast-paced for adventure. So to talk about Frozen for a second, we did see that bright color and fast-paced action for the adventure story, and that's definitely the comparison between the 2, is very dark story versus a very funny, lighthearted story. And story, so tease not tell, so give a hint of the plot without spoilers. Example, a girl must fight to survive in a televised death match. So that's a very interesting line. It kind of gives a little bit of a really vague thing about, the Hunger Games story, but it kind of makes you want to know more. So hook, mood, and story, very important. Keep that in mind for the rest of this course as we talk a little bit more about how to go about making your trailer. So thanks so much for staying with us for this module 1 about introduction to book trailers. I hope you have a good idea about what they are, some of the elements of them, and let's go through that recap of our lessons and we'll roll on into our activities. So we started off by doing an intro to book trailers. We watched 2 example ones. One of us is Lying in the Red Queen, and we did a little reflection about what about those trailers made us want to read the book or hear more about the story. We actually did a full definition of what is a book trailer and what it entails. We did a comparison of book and movie trailers, so that chart is available for you if you ever need to understand the difference again. And then, of course, we watched the Frozen trailer, and we talked about how it could be changed into a book trailer. So the main things being making it a little shorter, putting less plot details in there, talking a little less about characters, but still keeping some of those familiar elements, like, maybe some lighthearted music, or maybe some elements of a Frozen something, or some movie reviews, right? To kind of just give those hints of an idea, but just keep it short and simple is the basic thing on that one. And then we just went through our 3 key elements. So hook, mood, and story. So your hook is that one punchy line or that one punchy thing that really draws the user in. So something really cool like we saw with the Hunger Games example. The mood that can be set by music or colors. So darker mood is darker colors, obviously. Lighter mood might be, bright colors and kind of fast pace, kind of just fun and whimsical in a story. So figuring out what those key elements of your story are without saying too much is the main key there. So I hope you all enjoyed Module 1. We're going to go ahead and give you some activities in a minute. And thanks so much for watching, and stay tuned for the second one.
My name is Joseph Landau, and I am a Jew. The Nazis have ordered my family to leave Germany. We have a few days to get out, or we will be sent to a concentration camp. We are going to meet my father in Hamburg and board a ship to Cuba.
Cuba isn't safe anymore, Isabel, my father tells me. There are riots throughout Havana. People are starving. In order to survive, we must reach America. We leave tonight, and
nothing is left after an airstrike destroys our apartment in Aleppo. Everything we own is in these backpacks. We're trying to reach the border of Turkey, and from there find a smuggler who can get us into Greece. Once we're there, we can be granted refugee status. If we make it, we'll be safe.
If we make it, we'll have a new life and freedom.
Look for Refugee at your Scholastic Book Fair.